Hello.
And welcome to Makers.dev, episode at number 104. Chris, did you know that 104 is a natural number?
Oh, natural numbers. I learned about those at some point. I
So
don't
did
remember
I.
what they are.
Well, I wasn't expecting you to ask me that. A natural number is a number used for counting. As in, there are 6 coins on the table, and ordering, as in this is the third largest. Is it just it's just a number? Is it? Oh, zero, including zero.
So you could have said that for any of our episodes
I sure
so far.
could have.
Excellent.
That's my fun fact about the number 104. So it's non-negative integers, including zero, is a natural number, denoted by the capital N, the double struck capital N. Yeah. So, all right. That's my fun fact about the number 104.
There you go.
How have you been?
I'm doing all right. I've been dealing with double struck letters, R and C, though. R is reals and C is complex numbers, because I'm in a new class for my master's, Advanced Linear Algebra.
Ooh.
So that's something I'm doing. It's hard.
Yeah.
I think I expected it to be, but yeah, it made me rethink whether or not I want to continue doing my master's, given that I have a job and I'm doing the Cal stuff now.
Spicy.
I know. It took just a ton of time. And a bunch of people talked about it on, there's a Slack group and stuff too. Apparently the first 2 weeks are the hardest of this class. So I'm through the first 2 weeks. Also, if I were to drop it right now, then I wouldn't get all my money back. So I'm like, well, I might as well keep going anyway then.
That's good.
So we'll see how hard it gets. But yeah, I mean, it just I was in the middle of it. I'm like, I could just not do this. But I decided to keep doing it. So I also, that may not be helpful at all to listeners, but something that might be helpful. While I was doing it, I was having a super hard time because it's like proof-based problems. And I was having a really, really tough time with one of these problems, one of the homework problems. And I took a step back in the middle of it, and I was like, okay, it was about non-singular matrices. And I was like, what would I have to learn before I could teach what a non-singular matrix is? And I started writing down stuff, and I realized I was very confused about what a non-singular matrix was. And that was my problem. I didn't realize that while I was trying to do the problem, but by trying to take a step back and what if I was going to teach this? What would I need? That really, really helped me. And so I used that for the next few problems, and they went way smoother than the first few. So I highly encourage that if you are stuck on a problem, take a step back and say, what would I need to do to teach everything you need in order to learn this problem? Is a different way of framing it that I think was very helpful for me.
I like that. I'm reminded of the Feynman method. Are you familiar with that?
I know who he is. I don't know what's his method.
Richard Feynman, super cool guy involved in the Manhattan Project. His method of learning, very similar to that, was after he learned something of any sort of complexity, he would close the book or whatever the resource was that he was learning from, and try to explain it on a piece of paper. He'd try to write it down in his own words. And any gaps that he had, he would just say, oh, and this works, and I'm not sure quite how this works, and he would get to the end. And then he would go back to the resource and fill in those gaps of, okay, I didn't understand this part of it. And then he would do it again, and he would keep doing that, keep repeating it until he was able to fully explain it. And he's regarded by a lot of people as one of the best teachers of these sort of technical topics and nuclear stuff and physics. He has a course on introductory physics, mechanical and E&M, that are still used, even though they were written something like 50 years ago. So, yeah, I think it's a very good method. It's a feedback loop that you can do entirely internally to test your knowledge. I find when I'm learning things, it's very easy for me to delude myself into just sort of skimming over, oh yeah, I recognize those words, but I don't understand the underlying concepts yet. So cool. That's a good method. I'm reminded also of a project that we talked briefly about months ago, where you were going to make some sort of an educational resource about AI math for programmers, and that was going to be a way that you could externalize this sort of process.
I wanted to, and then I got a job, which is kind of what happened.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still think it would be good, mostly for my learning, right? Again. And so this was kind of the start of that. I was like, okay, pretend I'm going to make this. What's the order of things I need to teach in order to build up to non-singular unitary matrices? And yeah, it was exactly what you said. I realized I was glossing over those words and like, oh yeah, they said those words in the class.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually understand them, which is the whole problem. But yeah, so I like that, the find method. That's great. Yeah. So it feels like as I was taking a step back from the homework, I'm like, how am I ever going to finish if I don't do the actual homework? But really it was take a step back to go forward. So yeah.
I like it. I took the conversation that we had about that you were going to make those sort of articles and made something like 4 or 5 of them for different technical areas that I was struggling with. One for Firebase, one for FFmpeg, one for JavaScript, one for something else, Ruby. I don't remember. And I've referenced those now multiple times, and I've had this happen multiple times where I encounter a problem in JavaScript, and then I'm like, oh no, let me Google. Okay, I found the solution, and I've encountered this before, haven't I? I should include this in the article. And then I go to the article, and it's the top thing.
Already there, yeah.
Yeah. So that's been that's a habit that I would love to invest in to make as low friction as possible, and just in as many areas of my life as I can. Every hobby that I'm picking up, I don't know, scuba diving or carpentry or something, have my own cheat sheet for that thing. And then it's the best resource for me. And now I've, with marginal extra effort, I've put it in a place where potentially someone else could benefit from it. And then something I like as an extra thing that I could do on top of this is, once I've written the article that's been honed by, here are the difficulties in each little nugget that I've struggled with. Once that's of any sort of considerable size, that can very easily be turned into some sort of other content, of like a video or something. Excuse me. So that I like that that's been installed in my life as a habit of refining what I know and having it building cheat sheets for myself.
Yeah. I still want to do that. I should, because a few examples spring to mind right away. One is just all this linear algebra stuff. Like, I could make a cheat sheet, right? And then I've got experience actually researching it and then making it. But also, like, I know I'm going to need to reference the 3 ways to prove something is a norm multiple times, because we've already had to. So I should write that up, put it online, and then I can just access it. Yeah. The other thing is, like, for programming stuff, in PyTorch, the one that springs to mind right away is saving and loading like models is slightly weird. Like, the syntax is a little weird, so I have to look it up every single time. And every single time I go to the same page, and I know to scroll down about 3/4 of the way, and then I got to search for it and then find it. And it's like, why did I just make that a page? That's the only thing on it, is those 2 lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to do that. I just haven't. Yeah.
That's fair. Can you explain in any sort of layman's terms that I would understand what you're currently studying in linear algebra, especially the topics that made you almost want to quit your master's? Oh my gosh.
Well, just because, the way I got to quit the master's is, I was like, I should just drop this class. But wait, I have to take at least one theory class, and the other ones are harder than this one.
Okay.
This is the easiest of the theory classes. And so I'm like, wait, if I don't want to do this one, why would I want to do any of them? But I think I'm just going to stick it out, because I do want to learn this stuff. Like, I want to have learned this stuff. I just currently, with a job and starting a new Kaggle competition, which we can talk about, I have less time than I want. So it's more like spiraling thoughts than anyway.
I was fantasizing, probably while you were having your existential crisis, about joining the exact same program that you're in. Every day there's this new AI thing, and I just found one that you can run on the M1 or M2 architecture that is seems to have a more advanced interface than DALL-E. So you can take an input image and just give it human language instructions, like if the image is of a bowl of fruit, you can say you can give it the input of the image and the text prompt, make all the fruit strawberries. And it does it.
Yep.
And like that's just the thing that I found out about yesterday. There's been a new thing like that almost every day for what feels like the last 2 months. And I don't see this as a thing that's slowing down. I see it as just a thing that's only going to keep getting faster and better and more powerful. And I think being in a position where you can really understand the underlying layers of this and be able to take advantage of the full breadth of these tools, especially a little bit before everyone else is able to, What a fantastic position to be in. So, yeah, very interesting that you faced this adversity in this class and felt like quitting the whole thing. But I'm glad you stuck with it. I'm glad the sunk cost fallacy is
exactly. So what I would say is that this program is great, but it's great once you already know the basics and you want to, like, I'm taking this program so that I can do things like create the algorithms that you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you just want to use them and understand them, then there's some great classes, free classes. So deeplearning.ai is an extensive free website. Fast.ai is pretty good too. Is great. And then Coursera and I think edX both have free versions of, basically all the classes I'm taking. So I would take some of those first, the free ones.
I like that. Did you do that before enrolling in this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I went through the Fast AI one. I went through most of the deep learning.ai ones, and maybe another Coursera class. And I did multiple Kaggle competitions. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'd like to do. Thinking through this though, there's a lot of marketing courses that are in my queue first. Like I signed up for Corey Haines' Swipe Files and haven't touched any of that. And I think there's several courses on marketing stuff and several little, I think he calls them swipe files actually. like toolkits of, here's an example sort of marketing recipe you can use. And it's been on my to-do list every day for like the last month and I haven't opened it. I did take a course in ChatGPT 3, which was interesting, which I'd like to talk about later, but yeah. Okay. So I want to finish the current batch of marketing stuff. That's the next area that I want to get better at. And then I think turning some serious attention to AI stuff would be very useful for the future. Cool. What else did you get up to?
This is the Monday after the Friday that Google did a bunch of layoffs.
Yeah.
I am safe. I'm not laid off, but
good.
people on my team were. I mean, yeah, they laid off like 6% of the workforce. And, I don't have any particular thing to say, I guess, like you can read all about it in the news. A bunch of stuff was leaked. And it, it sucks, but the kind of stuff happens. So yeah, I was happy that I was safe, sad for the people that were let go, but yeah, that's the thing that happened.
Yeah. There's people you just started working with too.
Yep.
That's gotta be a weird situation that you're the new guy. And
yeah. I mean, they, like it wasn't it's not like they just laid off new people, they laid off like all over the experience ladder.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, I think I'm in a good position because my role was just reprioritized after the hiring freeze. And I suspect that it was role based, so like if they're shifting priorities, then they, like, it doesn't make sense for them to lay off someone who is just reprioritized.
Sure.
Is my understanding. So yeah, so sucks, but I'm still here.
Between this and the Stripe layoffs, and it seems like every major tech company is going through huge layoffs.
Amazon and Microsoft too. Yeah.
Okay. It seems like the market would be flooded with engineers, which makes this a terrible time for me to try to be ramping up freelancing work. Yeah, I'm curious about that. Are the engineers still in, like, where do these people go now? Are there scrappy startups who are scraping them up immediately because they like the opportunity to hire a Google engineer isn't very frequent?
Yeah, I mean, I think the market for engineers is still good for engineers, bad for companies. Like there's still less engineers than there are open positions. Okay. It's a little less frothy than it was 3 months ago, but I think it's still an okay time to be an engineer. Even though, yeah, something like, I think it's like 40,000 layoffs this year alone already, which is a bunch. But I suspect like a lot of these big tech company people will probably start startups. So that'll be an interesting thing, the effect that comes out of all this. I think that'll happen. And then, yeah, I mean, they'll go to other companies, I guess. Yeah.
I already told you this story, but I didn't tell you on the podcast, so I'm going to tell it again. Sarah was helping me to find engineering consulting positions, and so we'd been scheduling like weekly meetings to push this project forward. And I found the site that's a job board for React web developer type things. And I thought, oh, great, this is cool. And as I was trying to create a new account, it had me fill out some questions. And so I was answering questions. It was like, okay, how long have you been coding in React? And I was like, a long time. And just sort of going through, trying to get this done in our 30-minute time slot. And then it asked me for my resume. And I said, oh no, I don't have one for this technical stuff. I haven't had one for a long time. So what's like the cheapest, scrappiest way that I could throw this together? LaTeX template generator? No, that's a whole rabbit hole. I'm not going to do that. So I went to LinkedIn and saw that you could download a resume from LinkedIn. The first one I downloaded was like this 4-page thing with a bunch of extra stuff, and okay, I don't want that. And then the second one, I figured out, okay, you can customize it and get it onto a page, and it looked about like you would expect automatically generated resume from LinkedIn would look like. It fit all the technical requirements that a resume should have. It had my name on there. It had whatever the job experience and stuff. And so I uploaded that, and then answered a few more questions, and then hit send. And I told Sarah, like, oh, okay, I just applied for a job. And she said, you what? And I said, yeah, I just applied for a job. And she said, just now? What? Did you have a resume? And I was like, oh yeah, I just generated one from LinkedIn. And she said, you just generated one from LinkedIn? You can't do that. You can't just apply for a job like this. You're not taking this seriously. And I was like, what? No, I am. It's what? I'm doing the thing. And I think part of the miscommunication was like, I think she thought I was applying for a job like to a company like Google. And I was looking at this much more as it's just a job board, and this is just I just have to get over the hurdle of they just want to make sure that I'm actually a real person, and then the real interview comes when they actually interview you and do a technical test or whatever. And that was the first misunderstanding. And the second misunderstanding, I think, was Sarah has not applied for jobs as a software developer before, and I think we're in very privileged positions where we're like, we can sort of act like jerks and get away with it. Like the job market has been nice, and even with this flood of engineers, sounds like it'll continue to be nice. And I felt validated about an hour ago when I had checked my email and saw that I had passed the first round and they wanted to schedule an interview with me. So I thought that was funny. I do worry though that like, well, I'm worried and curious about the opportunities of with this presumably top level talent entering the market. I imagine now that's sort of pushing down other talent, and the people at the bottom now aren't going to be able to get jobs. And talent that was previously inaccessible to me, if I like wanted to hire someone to help me work on the video clipper, may have just become cheaper. So that's it. That's the end of my thought.
Yeah. It may, but also like if you're leaving Microsoft or Amazon or Google and you want to find another regular job, you're going to be looking at companies like Microsoft and Amazon and Google. Right. So, I mean, some of them will certainly go to other, companies. And so, but there's, I don't know. It's difficult to say.
I don't think I'll be able to hire an engineer from Google. But I do think that like maybe the engineer who just got fired from Google is going to get a job that would have otherwise gone to someone who's now going to have to get a position at a different company. And that position would have gone to someone who now has to go to a different company. And if you follow that cascade 3 or 4 people down, like, okay, now you're at a level where maybe I can hire this person who's now going to do freelancing instead of working for a company.
That might be true. It's also maybe a little of a fallacy to think that Google engineers are so good that they're going to push out all the other people who are then going to push out all the other people and then push tech hiring. I think is much more messy than any kind of on paper thing like that. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I think in general having more people in the market will lower salaries a little bit, but I don't know. Hard to say. I feel like I'm in a very interesting position now too, because I'm like looking for freelancing work and thinking about hiring a freelancer. It feels is
strange.
Funny.
Yeah. I heard also through the grapevine that you started a new Kaggle competition.
Oh yeah. I can talk about that one. So we just got 3rd place in the last one. So great. I need 1 more gold. So I'm looking for the competition to get me 1 more gold to become a grandmaster. So yeah, I started one. We'll see if I do very well in it or not. It's a video competition, which historically I have not done very well in. Okay. So, but I think I may have some insight that might help me. It's a pretty interesting competition. It's for the NFL, and they do one every year actually. And this one is detecting contact between players. So the NFL for a few years in a row has put tracking devices in their shoulder pads, and then they also have the video of every play. And so you get the data from the tracking device, and then you get the video of the play, and you have to determine if two players are in contact with each other, and if a player is in contact with the ground, and you have to do that for every 0.1 seconds of the entire play.
Okay.
For a whole bunch of plays. So that's kind of interesting. So I did a first pass. I made some mistakes. I'm in the middle of the pack right now. I think I should be in the top 10% or so after I fix the mistakes. And then I have some ideas about how to get to the top 1%, which is what I need for gold. So we'll see.
The input that you're dealing with is the video feed and the data from these contact sensors for every player?
Yeah, not contact tracking. So it gives you like XY position on the field, orientation, that kind of thing.
Accelerometer?
Acceleration, yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
That would be easy to figure out when people like hit the ground, I imagine. And then the output is you want to know per frame a list of the players currently touching the ground, a list of players currently touching other players.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So it's per 10th of a second, so not quite per frame. There's like 6 frames every 10th of a second, something like that.
Yes, okay.
So you get like 6 frames within your 10th of a second. And it's like an n squared problem for players, right? So every player, for every other player, are they touching them?
Yep.
And then for every player, are they touching the ground?
Yep.
During that 10th of a second.
Why does the NFL care?
So, yeah, sure. This is a lead up of several things. They first just wanted to know where the players were, so they did helmet detection. Then they wanted to know if there's significant contact, I think, between helmets. I don't remember. That was last year's one. So that makes sense, right? Concussions and stuff.
Sure.
This is a natural evolution of that, which is like basically they want statistics about how much contact players get during a game. Okay. So the more contact you get and the more severe contact that you get, the higher chance for injury generally.
Yeah, okay.
And so if there was some automated way, something the NFL is dealing with and that they're having trouble with is like when to pull players for injury. So they want to be able to pull players before they get injured.
Yep.
Sit out a couple plays, right? And then put them back in. Presumably, anyway. So yeah, so that's what this is leading towards, is reducing injuries for players.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because if I can have a real-time monitor that's looking at the total number of collisions with hard things, both other players and the ground, that my player has had over the last time period, I can then have some model of some threshold of, okay, if you have more than 5 of these collisions in 30 minutes, you're 80% higher to develop a serious injury. So, okay,
exactly.
Let's, after 4, we're gonna pull you and sub you out. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Great, you're gonna help football players' health. That's
really the plan. Good. So yeah. So there's only a month left. I started a little late, but we'll see. I'll give it a week, and if I fail to get the top 10% like in a week, then I'll probably not do it and look for another one. But otherwise, this will be my next one.
You said video competitions historically haven't been ones that you feel like you've done well in. I'm curious about that. Especially after going through all this video work with the video clipper and other stuff with FFmpeg. I imagine you're just treating it as a series of images.
It is. So one of the problems is it's a lot of data. So videos are big, and then when you have like an n squared algorithm where you want to zoom into every player, and maybe you don't have to zoom in. It's wide open. Maybe you don't have to do that, but I am zooming into each player. And it's just a ton of data. And then you have to deal with certain algorithms, which I just don't have much experience with. So there are ways to deal with images and videos that I don't have as much experience with as some of the other like types of data, like tabular data and stuff. So yeah, I'm learning all about those at the same time, which usually means, maybe I can get in the top 10%, but I probably won't get gold. But maybe the next one, the next competition, I will, if I've already done all the work to learn about the different algorithms. So.
Yep, makes sense. Yep. And all you have to do is attach yourself to a winning team, right? You don't have to win this one solo.
True, yes. But I can't, anyone on my team can't win prizes.
Yes.
And this, the top prize for this competition is $50K. And at $50K, people start worrying about whether or not they're going to be able to win prizes.
Yeah.
So it's actually a bad one for me to do for this. I should pick one of the other ones where it's like the top prizes, $12K. Yeah.
Sure. So. It'll be interesting regardless.
Yeah.
What's the video feed that you're getting in? Is it one consistent camera angle of like the whole field, or do you have some data on where the camera's pointed in this XY plane? How does that work?
3 different views that you get of the same play. One is from the sideline, one is from the end zone, and then the other is all 29 players, which is some type of overhead shot, which shows, 22 players, which shows, it's called all 29 though. Is it? Maybe it's all. I haven't used that one yet.
I don't know how many football players there are.
There's 22. There's 11 on each side, but I think it says all 29. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Anyway.
Huh. Maybe the person doing this competition doesn't know how football works. Okay.
No, I know the person running this competition actually, and he's great. He works for a company that does consulting for the NFL, and he's run this competition for the last few years, and he like won it the year before he started running them. So no, cool. He knows a bunch.
Okay. Maybe it's a test that you just passed.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So you get 3 different video feeds if you want them.
Okay, and you have to, I imagine, figure out the XY plane for each of the camera angles. Does the camera give you the direction it's pointing, or what?
Yeah, so what they also give you, which is super helpful, so you can figure that out, but they also give you the helmet bounding box detection from the winner of last year's competition, which is the helmet bounding box competition one.
Okay.
So you basically know, it's imperfect, but you can use that as well to know where every player is. Because that by itself is a whole project. So if I had to like teach my thing where each player was,
yes,
that's like a whole project I'd have to do before doing this next thing. But now I can just use the helmet detection.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so and it's individual helmets, or just telling you that there's a helmet in each of these.
No,
positions?
It tells you which player's helmet is
okay.
Yeah.
So starting data from each of these 3 camera angles, you can pick an arbitrary player and figure out where they are in each. So you know the XY coordinate because they have the tracker in the helmet.
Yep.
And then for each of the 3 video feeds, you can tell me that the bounding box of pixels where that person's helmet is.
Yeah, it's actually just the sideline and the end zone, the all 29 or 22. That one doesn't have the same data for it. It's just the end zone. Yeah. So.
Okay. Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. That's a cool contest. Doing cool stuff. I like it.
So that's everything I've been up to. How about you?
Everything I've been up to is I went on vacation. And then
That's
I
awesome.
went on another vacation.
That's cool. Where'd you go? Do you want to talk about where you went on vacation?
I would like to talk about where I went.
Where'd you go?
So Sarah and I went to Los Angeles to visit some of her family. While we were there, we did a bunch of cool stuff, including going to the Magic Castle with my friend Trig and Sarah's uncle, who loves magic. And so taking him there, I feel like we scored a lot of points. Yeah. He loved it. He thought it was really cool. And he had never been, even though they've been living in Los Angeles for years.
You need to get like a magician friend to let you in, right? That's the deal.
Yeah, you have to go. So yeah, you have to go with a magician who's a current member. And to be a member, you have to pass a magic test. How cool is that?
That's the one like Neil Patrick Harris was the president or something for a while, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. NPH is really into magic. Yeah, it's wild too, because you'll just be walking. If you know anything about magic, like if you watched any kind of recent Netflix special, or like, you know performers in Las Vegas who are magicians, every time I've been there, I recognize someone and I'm looking at them like, oh my God, is that's like this person who in any other context I wouldn't be on the lookout for him. I probably wouldn't even recognize him. And most humans in the world wouldn't know that this is a celebrity, but I'm out of my mind. Like, oh my God, it's Handsome Jack, like the guy who wrote the book on bill switches. That's so cool. And you can go up and talk to him. And yeah, it's really cool. So someone like Neil Patrick Harris, if I spent enough time at the Magic Castle, I would probably bump into him.
That's cool.
And that'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Was there like a show you went to there, or is it just like you go and hang out with magicians?
So there's so many different venues. There's multiple different theaters. There's a close-up room. There's a bar where the bartender is also a magician. So nice. Like he brings in a bunch of people and serves them all drinks. And then while they're having their drinks, he shows a mind-blowing magic. Like that was some of the strongest magic that I saw there. That was really cool. And then, yeah, it's all magicians hanging out and also lay people. So, you just be walking through the hallway and someone's showing someone else this cool thing. And yeah, and there's bars all over, and there's a restaurant that you go to. Oh, so if you don't go with a member, they can still send you a voucher, and then you can go use the voucher, but then you have to buy dinner. and it's like a fancy country club, so it's not inexpensive. And then you also have to pay this fee to like an entertainment fee. So us going with my friend Trig, the member, made it something like $100 cheaper per person.
Nice.
And 4 of us went. So that was really cool that he was able to get us in. So yeah, that was really fun. We went to Disneyland, where my friend is a performer. She is in the brass band something.
Okay.
And they
Does
pop
she
up
do
all
like
over.
the parade or something?
Yes, but there's also another parade.
Oh.
There's multiple. She's in the one that I think is smaller. I'm not sure, but it was really cool seeing her like get into costume and like waltzes out, and people loved it. It was so cool. There's like a group forms around them, and we got to go on the Star Wars ride that just blew my mind. It's this really interesting. The carts are moved around by magnets underneath the floor, and I'd never been on a ride like this, and there's these animatronics that are so good. It looks like people. There was this one room we went into that's just this massive, expansive, you feel like you're on one of the Imperial ships, huge vaulted ceilings, and they have this thing that looks like a big window that's a huge screen that's showing you off into space, and there's something like 100 stormtroopers in the room mixed in with the Imperial people with their little hats and stuff. And it took me a second to figure out, like, how are there so many people here? But I think what was going on was all the stormtroopers were just animatronic things, and then all the Imperial people, of which there were only 3 or 4, those were the real people. But there were so many moments like that were just beautiful. Oh my gosh! And then you go in this room, and there's 2 full AT-ATs, that full scale, and you're just whipping around them while people are shooting at you. It was incredible. That was really, really cool. That was the second interesting thing. And then Sarah and I fly back, and I immediately hightail it, drive down to Houston, where my friend is hanging out with NASA. He's doing a space medicine fellowship.
Just hanging out with NASA.
Just hanging out with NASA, like you do. Yeah, he had some really cool sentences. He was like, "Oh yeah, I was talking to whatever, this person who's the director of this program at NASA for the Artemis mission to the moon, and they had to reschedule the board game night with me because they're going on this expedition to the Antarctic." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, who are you? What are these words coming out of your mouth?"
That's funny.
So we flew to El Potrero Chico in Monterrey, Mexico, and climbed for about a day and a half. And I climbed, I think, the best I've ever climbed in my life. My head game, as they say, was very strong. My fear was very well managed, and I was able to climb something that my friend Luke was not able to climb, and I'm going to hold that over his head for the rest of our lives. Yeah. He got stuck in a rut, and he was like, "Oh, hold on, I just need to come down and change my shoes." And he came down, changed into his other shoes, and then he went back up, and then he tried again, and he wasn't able to do it. And he came down and I think tried something else, and then went back up, and was like, "Okay, I think we need to switch." Like, let you try this. And okay, if we can't do it, we can just go back down. And then I was able to do it. Nice. And I felt really proud of myself.
Is that like we were talking about that last time, right? If you see where a climber left a carabiner knowing that they abandoned it,
yes,
and then you go past it, you feel good.
A bail beaner. Yeah. We almost had to do that, but I was able to pull off the move that made it so that we could go forward. So
nice.
Yeah, felt pretty good about that. And I filmed a video actually in 360 of parts of the climb. So if you or anyone listening would like to join Luke and I on our climbing trip to El Potrero Chico,
excellent.
You can search for my name on YouTube. The most recent video is a 360 video of our climb.
What camera did you use to do that?
The Insta360.
Okay. The new one or the old one?
It's the camera that I have is something like 2 years old, so probably the old one.
They just came out with a new one, and I'm tempted to buy it, even though I don't have a real good use case for it. It's an action camera and a 360 camera all in one, and it's like super rugged, and it basically is, leaps and bounds better than their old one, which was already pretty good.
Is it modular? Does it have like a replaceable battery in the bottom?
No, it's not that one. Okay.
That's the one I have, and I would not recommend it. I would get the one that's all one thing.
I was looking at that one too, but X3, is that the new one? Waterproof action camera. Maybe it's the X3. Is that that's maybe the new one that came out? Yeah, that looks like it. It's waterproof too, so you can take it underwater.
Cool. Okay, mine is waterproof, but only with a special case on it, and then the stitching gets really weird. It's not really able to merge them together. So, yeah, I got the one that I have with the intention that it would be also my webcam, but it's kind of gimmicky. It's a really cool idea. They have like hot swappable modules where you can change the lens on it from a 360 camera to like a wide angle camera or like a regular camera, so it can act like a GoPro. But yeah, I would, if I could do it again, I would just get like a dedicated 360 camera, and then yeah, they could also make it waterproof. But yeah, those are really cool. I showed Sarah and I showed my parents, and they felt like they were on the climb with me, which was pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. They were also very confused that at first they couldn't move around in the space, that it was just one fixed angle. And then I started thinking, that's not too far off of where we'll be able to get. That's not like the whole 3D space could potentially be remapped so that you could walk around, and it would have to interpolate and kind of guess of stuff it couldn't see. It wouldn't be showing you the actual truth of
talking about like
what was there.
Like parallax, like if you do this.
Yeah, or like looking under a table that you couldn't see, or
under a table,
looking around someone, or but you know, of course you can't do that now because it's just this one fixed position. It can only ever see that. So if you move your head around in VR, it's just moving the entire world with you. But you can spin your head around and see what's behind you, which is pretty cool. Yeah, the level of immersion is insane. I think I'm terrified to see what the analog of a video camera is going to look like for, I don't know, 2 generations from now. Maybe we're in that right now. Maybe I'm actually my great grandson reliving the experiences of my great grandfather. That'd be pretty cool. So there's that. What else? Oh, I got really sick. You can probably hear my cough. Sometime we were in Mexico, which we ran out of water like halfway up this 12-hour route. So that probably had something to do with it. And then we were eating all these really cheap street tacos. And the day we left, Luke found a cockroach in one of his tacos.
Oh, excellent.
And which the cockroach itself, he made the point, wasn't the issue. It was more like it's a canary in the coal mine of there might be some meat parasite in this thing that would be not very good to eat. That would ruin your life. So yeah, I since our last episode, I've been traveling, and then I got sick, and I got mostly better around yesterday afternoon, but now I'm here. So I'm back on the horse of working on the video clipper, and I'm very proud of my ability to make the transition from vacations or something else or feeling sick back to work. I feel like I know the things I need to do. Like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm going to bed at the right time. If I'm totally sick, I need to make sure, okay, I'm just going to take care of that. I'm just going to try to get that. That's my one and only job. I'm just going to try to get better. And then this morning, getting back into things, like, okay, I just got to make sure that I meditate no matter what the cost. I'm going to meditate. And it took me 40 minutes to get ready to do a 20-minute meditation, but I did it. Yeah. Gosh darn it. The meditation happened. So I feel like my ability to get back into gear is better than it's ever been, which feels good. And so I was initially planning on launching the video clipper on Tuesday, thinking that I'd be able to do some stuff for the weekend. I wasn't, so I'm going to bump that to Wednesday. And I basically have it all mapped out. I'm going to send out the email sequence that I already have written. I'm going to send out the tweet sequence that I already have written, advertising this 50% off deal if you sign up within 24 hours. And I have very low expectations. If like one person signed up, that would feel good. And it's going to be information no matter what happens, and I'll learn from it and then go from there. I did have an idea on the glamming trip of a small change I want to make to the flow of this. I think what I want to do is make sure that I'm capturing YouTube channels at sign up. And then once I know someone's YouTube channel, if I have a YouTube channel ascribed to every account, now I can be looking for new videos that person posts. And now I can be much stickier as a product, because once I know your YouTube channel, every single time you post a video, I can send you an email that says, hey, click this link to clip your video that you just posted. There's no extra step that you have to remember in the beginning part of. Also, you have to have this simultaneous upload to the video clipper. And I didn't like that initially because it's a little more fragile. I'm relying on kind of a backdoor way to download videos from YouTube, but I think I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. And then even I could be doing some cheeky things, like I can be making clips of people's videos and like, maybe the email that says, here's the link to start clipping your videos. Maybe that says, here's a suggested clip. Where'd the suggested clip come from? Did it come from an advanced AI, or did it just come from me watching your video and making a clip?
Yeah. That's the perfect kind of thing where, you could do it manually at first and then either outsource it to, VA or something, or eventually some kind of AI. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So I'm very proud of that idea, because like that stickiness feels like it's going to be important. I think a lot of people have tried out this product and said, okay, well, this is interesting, but it's not quite at the level that it makes sense to invest in yet. So I'm just going to kind of forget that it exists. And if I'm sending them an email every single time they're already in this mode of launching a video, I think that'll be much stickier. And then in that email, that's a great place for me to be saying, by the way, we have this new feature that you haven't tried yet, that maybe that was a thing that was stopping you from using it before. And that feels good. That feels like a very natural way to be sending a lot more email. That's tied to like the output of the person.
I think that's a great insight for a few reasons. One, people love seeing stuff about themselves. So they'll love seeing like their video already clipped. That's excellent. The other is, if I had to guess, one of the major reasons for churn for products like this is like they sign up and then realize they still have to do work in order to use it. If the work is they check their email and click one button, then that is excellent. So I think that's a great idea.
Cool. Thank you. It feels good. I feel a little disappointed that I have like nothing materially has happened or changed since last time. But
you were on vacation.
I did have that one good idea. I know. And then I was sick, but still frustrating. Especially listening to Mr. Beast had an interview recently with Lex Friedman, and just I feel so like this mix of inspiration and also disappointment in myself that I'm not at that level, that I'm like, that I don't have a team that's just making stuff. And I don't know
about Mr. Beast or about Lex Friedman. Was
both of them here? It's like two titans talking.
I was going to say Mr. Beast has like a ton of people working for him, and then Lex Friedman is like a machine. I think
he just started hiring a team. I think
okay.
Recently he like has editors and things to help him.
I saw his 2023 New Year's resolutions, and one was like eat a cookie. Not like eat more cookies, eat a cookie for the whole year. Like that's the kind of thing he's talking about. Yeah.
I'll have to read those. What's the story behind that? Why is
he is way into like health hacking and nutrition and stuff, and so he does things like intermittent fasting and just eating a really good diet, including no sugar, I think.
Okay.
So he's gonna allow himself to eat one cookie.
All right.
That's the kind of person he is. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I had 2 cookies yesterday, so that's how I feel about that.
Exactly. This guy's not human. So I know that, I just need to be focused on like, making on my own, like compare myself to who I was yesterday, not who someone else is today. But it does feel a little discouraging. But there's a lens through which I can see that it's motivating. It's cool to see what's possible. The amount of money Mr. Beast is making from one of his side businesses is just ridiculous. He started a snack business. Did you know this? That's in grocery stores and stuff. And it's making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. And that's a side project for this guy. Ridiculous.
Well, I know he started, the one I had heard about a few, maybe pre-COVID, was he started a burger business. Overnight he launched, 400 stores or whatever.
Yes.
The way he did it was going through commercial kitchens and like doing delivery only and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like a hack to get around, So it sounds super impressive. I mean, it is super impressive, but it's also, it's not like he really opened 400 locations overnight.
Sure. I don't know. I'm like, if I did that, I'd feel very impressed with myself.
Yes, exactly.
There's one last thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is a project I'm helping Sarah with, which I think we talked about briefly last time. Gymnastcode.com.
Nice.
See, the more I think about it, feels like just such a perfect micro-confidence business, because it's such a niche market of gymnastics coaches and gymnastics studios. She's specifically focusing on ones
Did you say
teaching
code or coach?
Gymnasticscode.com.
Code, okay.
Although that's interesting that maybe we'll also get gymnasticscoach.com. Gymnastcode.com. But I think she also has gymnasticscode.com. Yeah. Such a niche, good industry. It's all of these people are on the same set of Facebook groups. Most of them all know each other. Incredibly small community. The average gym has something like 8 coaches. So yeah, and then they're all kind of networked together. They hang out at competitions regularly. So there's this cool network effect. There's a magazine that they all subscribe to. Very easy to reach them, and very underserved by software. So, and the problem I would have had no idea existed. They have this book of rules for judging competitions, and the rules are all arcane and or self-referential and really difficult to figure out. So everyone constantly has all these questions of like, hey, I'm competing at a gold level, and for my floor routine, I don't know if I should have, if this particular skill that I'm doing meets the requirement of having whatever 2 different circling skills. And that's so then an experienced wizened gymnastics coach will post on the Facebook post and be like, oh no, it doesn't, because of this other weird rule that you can't do these 2 things at the same time or whatever. So Sarah made a prototype of a digitization of the code of rules, as it's called, and she launched it 2 days ago. 2 days ago. And in the first 30 hours had 45 signups from 2 Facebook posts that she posted.
Nice.
And I'm looking at this like, oh boy, this is how it happens, right? Like this is really exciting. We still don't know what the revenue model is going to be or how we're going to charge. We think it makes the most sense to charge the gym, because the gym spends money mostly on equipment. Yeah. Like a pommel horse or whatever is going to be multiple thousands of dollars, and they're making something like hundreds to $1,000 per month from each of their gymnasts that they have. So they like have a budget, and if we can tune the sales pitch in the right way and get them to buy it, I think this could turn into something really interesting. So that's
super cool. After you explained it, it made sense why it was code. I was expecting the word coach, but code makes sense once you explain that it's about the rules and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing is, this sounds very similar to Arvid Kahl's Feedback Panda, Arvid and his wife.
Okay.
Do you know the story of that?
I don't know.
Oh, you should read. He has 2 books or 3 about it, and many podcast episodes. His wife was an English teacher, like an English tutor for Chinese students, I think, and had a network of English tutors, and they had this very specific need, which is like giving feedback to all of their students, where the feedback is mostly the same. They just have to like pick from like templated sort of responses and stuff. And Arvid was the developer, she was the English tutor, and together they made Feedback Panda and then sold it for 7 figures. Yeah.
Wow.
This sounds extremely similar to that, where your wife is the entrenched gymnast person, and you are the developer. And so I would at least listen to his podcast or read his books or give him a Twitter DM. Yeah.
I know of Arvind. I didn't know that was his story. I also didn't know he had books. I gotta do that immediately. All right, cool.
They're good books. Yeah.
I'll give them to Sarah too. We'll just copy exactly their playbook of whatever they did.
Yep.
Wonderful. Cool. Yeah. Feels like I've got a lot of good bets out right now between File Inbox, pushing that forward, doing the serverless transition, like that's still happening. The video clipper launching this week. Feel like it's pretty well positioned. Feel like I know that there's a problem here. Feel like I know what the pricing is. Feel like I know what the marketing is. And helping Sarah with this thing. One of these has got to pop, right? Like, so I think the game is just, don't get discouraged, keep pushing it forward. I feel like I know the right things to do. Yeah. And then
that's like, I would say, for example, you thinking about wanting to learn more AI stuff, like if you had infinite time, yeah, great. But that feels like something you can do in the background. Like these other things feel to me like way more important right now. So don't feel bad about not having infinite time is what I'll say.
Thank you. One day when we reach the singularity,
exactly
2035, I'll have 2035 according to Rick Kurzweil.
It's still 2035. It seems like it keeps getting pushed out 40 years. It's like
well, by different predictors, yeah, but he wrote books in like, I don't know, 20 years ago that predicted it would be 2035. And he's kept that prediction. And he's also said things like computers are going to pass the Turing test in 2029. And he was saying that 20 years ago.
I was going to say that might be true.
Say it again.
That might be true. ChatGPT is already pretty close.
Yeah, that looks real close. He also has a very high threshold for the Turing test. It's not just, a 30-minute conversation. It's like keep talking to this thing until you're convinced it's a human computer or not. And at the time he first made the prediction, the average, the median guess was something like 200 years from 20 years ago. And then as we've crept closer, the median guess has drifted down until now the median guess is 2030, and he's still at 2029. So yeah, I feel like he's made some good predictions, and seems like I have difficulty imagining that it could shake out any other way.
He's also, if you watch some videos about him, he's also a very interesting character. He's
eclectic for sure.
Yep.
He takes like 100 vitamins a day. Yeah. Really tragic story also of like he really loved his dad and was just tragically torn apart when his dad died, and felt this immense sense of grief, and so hoarded like every scrap of paper that his dad had ever written anything on, with the hope that one day he could digitally resurrect him. And the last time I heard about the story was I would have been in college, like, I don't know, 10 years ago. He actually came to Southern Methodist University, where Sarah and I both went, and I got to ask him a question, and he gave a lecture. I asked him when we'd get Iron Man suits. Like, it was the dumbest question, but he still answered it like, I don't know. He was a cool guy. So he was talking about then that, he had this goal of resurrecting his dad and being able to talk to him. And since then, he did it. He made a chatbot, probably powered by something like ChatGPT, GPT-3, with all this information that he'd scanned in from his dad, and was able to have a conversation with his father. So I imagine that would have felt immensely rewarding. But also, how Black Mirror dystopia. Like, what a strange situation.
Well, I can imagine if he truly believes in everything he says about the singularity, which I actually think he does. Like, I don't think he's just saying this for publicity. I think he really believes it. That makes any human loss of life from now till then like actually super painful, because they're one less person going to be uploaded to the singularity. Like his dad could have lived forever if he lived to the singularity. That's probably what he believes.
If he could have lasted just another couple of decades.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, for real. According to him, people in their 20s and 30s are pretty certainly going to live an incredibly longer lifespan than any other human. And then people in their 50s and 60s, probably, as long as you stay healthy. And then 70s and 80s, probably not. And it's this tragic situation where can you imagine if you're like 2 years off, if you could have lived 2 years longer, you could have lived for another 700 years. According to him, that's the world that we're currently living in.
At the same time, like I know a lot of people who don't want to live that long, or maybe haven't thought about it before. Like I think a lot of people are very happy, dying at a ripe old age, right? Sure. They don't want to go before their time, but once they're 90 or something, they're like, all right, So it'll be very interesting how humans deal with that, if it's a possibility to live for hundreds of years.
It would be a immense change to.
Yeah, I think some will choose not to.
I'm personally of the opinion that I would like to not die for as long as possible. I'm fine with dying at a ripe old age, but my ripe old age would be like, I don't know, 900, 9,000. All right. I don't know. Is that egotistical? Does that make me I don't know. I'm all for being altruistic and like, so many of these horror stories of villains are like, once the billionaire villain gets obsessed with protecting himself above all else, that's where true evil comes from. And I totally see that. And at the same time, I really enjoy life, and I really like learning new things. I really like having conversations like the one I'm having with you. I like building things. I like helping other people, and I'd like to do that for as long as possible. Like, I want that for everyone around me. I want both of us to be making this podcast in the year 3000. That'd be great.
Let's do it. Our 30,000th episode. Great.
I'll have some more fun facts about the number
30,000 is a real number. Our natural number.
Perfect. We've already got the fun fact. We're ready to go.
Excellent.
Chris, that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.